In this third video, the experimental procedure will be described and video demonstrations of the lab will be shown. First, a mud sample must be prepared with the mud mixer. Mix 25 grams of bentonite with 350 cc's of water for 7 minutes. Please recall the safety procedures for using the mud mixer. Specifically, not to wear anything that may be caught in the mud cup while the device is spinning, and also remember to add the water and bentonite slowly and in parts. Next, several tests must be performed on the base mud, and the results will be presented in the table seen now. To begin, measure the mud weight, the 10-second gel strength, and the pH. The alkalinity tests must now be conducted in order to find the mud alkalinity PM, PF, and MF, the latter two of which were described in the last video. The mud alkalinity measures the alkalinity of the whole mud. When used alongside filtrate alkalinity determination, the excess lime present can be determined. To measure mud alkalinity, first use a syringe to measure 1 milliliter of a freshly stirred sample of mud into a titration dish. Make sure there are no air bubbles. Now dilute the mud with 25 to 50 milliliters of distilled water and add no more than 4 or 5 drops of phenolphthalein. If the sample does not change color, report PM as 0. If the sample turns pink, titrate rapidly with N/50 sulfuric acid until pink color disappears. Use the 1 cc pipette for the base mud and the 10 cc pipette for the lime mud later in the experiment. Report the phenolphthalein alkalinity of the mud, PM, as the number of milliliters of the N/50 sulfuric acid added to discharge the pink color. Next will be the tests to find PF and MF, starting with PF. To begin, pipette 1 milliliter of filtrate into a clean titration dish. Do not dilute with distilled water. Add no more than 2 or 3 drops of phenolphthalein. If no color develops, PF is 0 and pH is less than 8.3. If a pink color develops, again add N/50 sulfuric acid by pipette until the color changes back to the original sample color. Again, use the 1 cc pipette for base mud and the 10 cc pipette for the lime mud. PF is the amount of N/50 sulfuric acid required to discharge the pink color. From here, the excess lime content can be found in pounds per barrel equal to PM minus PF all over 4. Now, to find MF, take the same sample used for the PF test and add 2 or 3 drops of Bromescol green-methyl red indicator. Again, add N/50 sulfuric acid until the color changes from a blue-green to a light pink. This time, use a 1 cc pipette for both mud samples. Again, report the MF alkalinity of the filtrate as the total volume of N/50 sulfuric acid required to reach the end point. This volume also includes the volume required to reach the PF endpoint. Record all these past values found on the table. The next step will be to take 300 and 600 RPM viscometer readings, which will be used to determine the PV and the YP. Finally, the API filtration loss will be measured. Since a filter cake is not being measured, the filtration test can be terminated after 20 minutes. To get a representative value, take readings at 5, 7.5, 10, and 15 minutes as well. Now that those tests are done, prepare a second mud again by mixing 25 grams of bentonite and 350 cc's of water. Dilute 270 milliliters of this mud with 80 milliliters of water and convert to lime as follows. While mixing the mud, add 3 pounds per barrel, or in other words, 3 grams of caustic soda dissolved in 5 milliliters of water. Add 3 pounds per barrel, or in other words, 3 grams of deflocculant, polyphosphate baraphos. Now, mix for 5 minutes at low speed. Afterwards, add 4 pounds per barrel, or in other words, 4 grams of calcium oxide. It is better known as burnt lime, lime, or quick lime. Mix again for 5 minutes at low speed. Add 0.5 pounds per barrel, or grams, of quick gel, and mix again for 5 minutes at low speed. Now measure the same properties by conducting the tests done earlier in this video with the previous mud sample, except using the newly created lime mud sample. With that, the experimental procedure is completed, and the lab report and data reduction is next. For the lab report, the following questions must be answered. 1. Discuss applications of calcium or lime treated muds. Discuss advantages and limitations of calcium-treated muds. Based on your observation of viscosity changes, discuss the conversion mechanism of lime mud. Include the effects of adding each component. 4. Compute the amount of free lime. Discuss what it tells you. 5. Based on the results of your lab experiment, write a step-by-step procedure for the derrick hand to convert to lime mud. Include the barrels of water, sacks of caustic soda, polyphosphate lime, and biopolymer quick gel needed for the conversion of 1,500 barrels base mud in tanks and in the hole. Show all calculations. Note that 1 sack is equal to 50 pounds. This concludes the third video and is the end of lab number 5, where lime-based inhibitive fluid was discussed. This is also the end of all drilling fluid lab sessions. Good luck with the rest of the course.